haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Zayin Amud Beis, starting with Zayin Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom. In regards to the mitzvah Bedikas Chometz, the Gemara now discusses what is the Nusach HaBrocha. Says the Gemara, Om Rav Yehuda haboidek tzarich shivarich. One who checks for Chometz must make a bracha like all other Birkas HaMitzvahs. One must make a bracha prior to them performing the mitzvah. Says the Gemara, my mevarich, what is the nusach of this bracha? Rav Papi Omar Mishmei Derove Levoyer Chometz. Rav Papa Omar Mishmei Derova Al Biur Chometz. There's a machlokes. What is exactly the nusach? Now, when it comes to the bracha of destroying the chometz, even though we are making that bracha in the beginning of what's called Bedikas Chometz, but the Bedikas Chometz is really the beginning process of searching out for the Chometz, finding it, and ultimately destroying it the next day. So therefore, the Nusach of the bracha requires that you say destroying. The question is, how do you then state that destruction of the Chometz? Do you say Al Biur Chometz? Or do you say Levaer HaChometz? It's a machlokes. Again, Rav Papa says Levaer Chometz, and Rav Papa says Al Biur Chometz. Says the Gemara, Bilevaer Kuli Alma Loi Pligi Devade Lahabo Mashma. The words Levaer, that everybody agrees is going on the future, and therefore that would be a valid nusach. Top of Zayin Amud Beis. Ki pligi ba'al bi'ur. They're arguing about al bi'ur. Is that going to have the connotation of the future or only in the past? Mar sovar mi'ikara mashma umar sovar lahabo mashma. Rav Papi, he holds that has the connotation of being before, and therefore he cannot use that lashon of al bi'ur. Whereas Rav Papa says lahabo mashma. It's mashma that's going on in the future, on the bedika that you're about to perform, and ultimately the ultimate biur of destroying the chometz. Meisvei asked the Gemara the following question from the Brisa: Baruch Asher Kedishon Mitzvos Avitzivanu Al Hamila. When it comes to the bracha of Bris Milah, it states Al Hamila, which is a kasha on Rav Papi, who says that Al has the connotation of mi'ikara. Answers the Gemara, Hasam Heichi Neima. There, in the case of Milah, what choice do you have? What else can you say? Name a lamul, you're going to say to circumcise. Ask the Gemara, that's not satisfactory. Loisagi de lav ihu mohil. There it implies that the mohil, is the one who's obligated in performing the mitzvah. And that's not true. It's the avi ben. So therefore, with no choice, it has to say al hamilah. Ask the Gemara, Avia ben, my ikil meimar, but the Avia ben who does have the mitzvah to mal his son, then it should say lamul, and yet the Brisa doesn't make a distinction. The Brisa says Asher kedishonu mitzvah sevetzivanu al hamila. Answers the Gemara, ein hochinami. That's true indeed. When the father makes the bracha, he will say lamul. But this Brisa is talking about the typical case when the moyel is then making the bracha. Meisvei asked the Gemara from a different place. Baruch Asher Kedishonu b'mitzvah v'tzivanu al hashchita. There it states in regards to shchita, al hashchita, that's the nusach, and not losh lishchoit. So again, another kasha on Rav Papi, who says that al is going mi'ikara. Says the Gemara, Hasam nami heicha neima. And there also, in the case of shchita, what are you going to say? Neima lishchoit. Are you going to say that the bracha of the nusach should be lishchoit? Ask the Gemara the same question. Losag de lav iu shochat. That means to say that the sheichet, it's upon him. He's the one who mitzuveh. That's not so. He's actually doing the shchita, but he's not the one who is only mitzuvah in the shchita of the animal. So the Gemara asks, okay, but Pesach v'kodshi ma'ikel meimar, when a person, yes, is mitzuvah to then bring his sheichet his own korban Pesach, or to be sheichet his own korban, then he should say lishchoit. And yet the Brisa again doesn't say that. It says the bracha is always going to be seemingly a bracha of al hashchita. Answers the Gemara and hochenami. That's true. Again, when it comes to a korban Pesach, that person is sheichet for himself, then he'll say lishchait. It's only that the Bryce is talking about when a sheichet in general is shechting, that's the typical case, then he says ala shchita. Meisvei asked the Gemara from a different place. Ha'oise lulav la'atzmoi, when a person prepares the dalin minim for himself before performing the mitzvah, and he puts the dalin minim together, he makes a special bracha of shechiyonu. Mevar shechiyonu v'kimanu v'gyanu la'zman hazeh. The Brisa continues, not loy lotzeis boy. He takes the dalin minim to then perform the mitzvah. Oy masher kidishonu b'mitzvah yisavitzivonu al netilas lulav. Here it says the news of al netilas lulav. Again, a kasha on Rab Papi, who says that al is mikara mashma. Answers the Gemara shani hasam. By dalin minim, it's different. There, it's appropriate to say al netilas lulav, even according to Rab Papi, because the ba'ina the agbei. Nofik Bey, the time that he picks it up, he's already mekayim the mitzvah, because the Torah says, Ulekachtem lochem bayom harishon, referring to the dalin minim, you shall take them. By the very fact that you're picking them up is a kiyum of the mitzvah. So therefore, it's going on the past, that you picked it up, therefore you make the bracha, and it's going mikara. Ihochi asked the Gemara, then Lot says, boy, Yotza bomi boy. Why does it say in the Brisa when you're going to be noitel the lulav to be lotzeis boys mashma for the future? Then you'll make the bracha asher kedishon mitzvos of v'tzivonu al netilas lulav. It should say sheyotza boy. You make the bracha of al netilas lulav. Answers the Gemara and hochinami umishom deka boy lemisni seifa leishi basukah tanan reisha nami lotzeis boy. Since it taught in the Seifa of this Brisa in regards to Sukkah, Leishev Basukah, therefore, it also taught in regards to the Reisha, Lotzeis Boy. So therefore, that's why it doesn't say Yatza. Diktani, for it says in the Brisa, Seifa, Ha'oise Sukkah La'atz. When the Seifa it states, one who makes a Sukkah for himself, Oimer Borchato Hashem Shechiyonu V'kiyimonu, V'higyanu lazman hazeh, nichnas leishev bo. He enters to sit in the sukkah. Oimer baruch asher kedishon mitzvos avsinu leishev basukkah. V'hilchasa. The Gemara concludes, what is the halacha when we make a bracha on the bedikas chametz? The halacha is al bior chametz. That's the bracha that we make. Says the Gemara weiter, the kuli alma mia mikara bo inon livruche minolan. Everybody agrees that the bracha must be before performing the mitzvah. Minolan, from where do we know that this is necessary? That you have to make a bracha before performing the mitzvah. Answers the Gemara, Damar of Yehuda Mar Shmuel, Kol ha-mitzvahs mevarech alein oiver la'asiyasan. Shmuel tells us that all mitzvahs, all birkas ha-mitzvahs, must be then made oiver la'asiyasan, just before performance of the mitzvah. My mashma, the high oiver lishna da akdumehu. How is it mashma? The word oiver means before, preceding. Rav Nachem bar Yitzchak the Makro, it says vayaretz achimatz derech hakikar. He ran the way of the plain of the kikar. V'ya'avor es hakushi, and he went just before the kushi. So we see that vaya'avor is a lashon of before. Abaye says from here a different pasuk. V'hu ovar lifneim, and he went before them. He passed before them. Another place, another source we find. Vayavor malkom lifnehem, and their king, he passed before them. Meaning to say prior, it was before he got to their presence. V'Hashem baroshim, and Hashem was at their head. In other words, the requirement to make the bracha is oiver la'asiyasan, and therefore, just immediately before performing the mitzvah, one must make the bracha. For example, when it comes to tefillin, a person should not put the tefillin in his hands, holding them, even if they're unwrapped, and say the bracha, and then go ahead and put them and adjust them on his arm. No, he should put them on his arm, and then, right before pulling the knot, then make the bracha asher kidishonu b'mitzvos v'tzivonu lehoniach tefillin, and then go ahead and tighten the knot. Says the Gemara weiter, Bish Beirav Amrei, there's exceptions to this rule of making bracha over la'asiyason. Beirav Amrei, in the Beis HaMedrash of Rav, they said, Chutz mina tevila v'shoifar, with the exception of the mitzvah of tevila and the mitzvah of shofar, then we will not say the bracha right before. So the Gemara asks, Bishlam tevila, in regards to them being toivel, the person is not yet fitting to say a bracha, therefore he cannot say the bracha before the tevila. For example, if there's a balkeri that had a seminal emission, then it states over there that the person cannot make a bracha, and this therefore is required that he then be toivel first, whereby he first is toivel and then makes the bracha. We're not makbid, not everybody is makbid, I should say, bizmanenu, but the times of the Chazal that was required, and therefore one must be toivel before making the bracha. Another example would be, let's say, a ger tzedek. He's not yet a Yehudi to make a bracha asher kidishanu, and therefore only once he is toivel, after the tefillah can make the bracha. So therefore, there we do not say over la'asiyasan. Elo, shofar, my taima. But why, when it comes to shofar, do you say that that is an exception? You don't make a bracha over la'asiyasan before the blowing of the shofar. Ask the Gemara, if you're worried that maybe the tekiya will not come out, it'll be a improper type of blowing, whereby it'll be a bracha levatala. Then ask the Gemara, then also when it comes to the other mitzvahs that we mentioned, shchita and mila, a person can also make a mistake and not make a proper shchita or mila, whereby it'll be a bracha levatala. So if that's the case, you cannot make a bracha before those either. And we saw that you do. Elomar of Chizda, chutz min hatvila, bilvad itmar. Therefore, Rav Chizda qualifies and he says no, and he clarifies for us that the only exception that we don't make a bracha of over la'asiyasan when it comes to birkat mitzvahs is tevila. Tani Nam Yoch, we also have a brisa that also supports this, that it's an exception by tevila, that we don't make a bracha over la'asiyasan. Tova va'ola ba'aliyaso, he made a tevila, he immersed himself in the mikvah, and he went up Ba'aliyaso, and after going up, Omer, he states, Baruch asher kidishonu b'mitzvos v'tzivonu al hatevila. The Gemara now quotes the Mishnah that we said, Or la'arbosa boikines hachometz le'or haner, to the candle light. The Gemara now brings the support where we know that it must be done through candle light. Says the Gemara Rav Chizda. First the Gemara asks, Mino hanimili, from where do we know this requirement of la'or haner? Answers the Gemara Rav Chizda, Lamanu mitzia mimitzia. He's going to bring a limud that we learn out, finding from finding, two different words that teach us one from the other, that both say the word mitzia. Umitzia mechipus, and finding from searching, again, two different words that are stated in the Torah. Uvechipus mechipus, and searching from searching. Vechipus mineiros, and we learn out searching from candles. Veneiros miner, and candles from candle. So we're going to bring the limud now to explain the source where we know we require bedikas chametz ayidei the ner. Says the Gemara, mitzia me mitzia, finding from finding. Kesiv hacha, it states over here in regards to chametz, shivas yamim soor lo yimotze bibatechem. For 7 days you shall not find leaven in your houses. So here it says the word mitzia, finding. V'ksiv hasam, it states vayichapes, and they searched out, referring to the brothers of Yosef HaTzadik. After he sent them back, he planted the gevia, the goblet, in the sack of his brother Binyamin. It says vayichapes, and he searched begodol hachel v'koton kila vayimotze. The beginning with the older Reuven, ending with the smallest, referring to Binyamin, and he found. So in this pasuk it states chipus, searching, and it found. So also in the same pasuk it also states vayimotza mitzia, finding, umitzia mechipus didei, and we find the word finding from chipus, from searching in itself, meaning in the same pasuk that we just quoted. We had the same pasuk that had mitzia and chipus. The chipus mineiros, and we also find a pasuk that says chipus in regards to neiros. D'chsiv ba'esahi achapes es Yushalayim b'neiros. Hashem says, I will then determine the sins of Yushalayim, and it says by searching out with neiros, with candle lights. V'neiros miner, we also learn out neiros, candles from candle. D'chsiv, it says ner Hashem nishmas adam choifes kol chadrei boten. A man's soul is the candle of Hashem, who probes, who searches through the innards of a person. So here we have also the word ner in regards to chipus, of searching. Kan de Rabbi Shmuel, the house of Rabbi Shmuel, taught the same type of drasha. Leile yedalid boikin es hachametz leor haner. On the night of the 14th, we search for chametz on the candle light. Although there is no explicit proof min ha-Torah, there's a hint from the Torah in a smachta as follows, like we just learned. Shenemar, it states in the pasuk Shivas Yom Misor Lo Yimotze, the word mitzia. Voimer ichapes bigodol hachel uvekoton kilo, and there it says chipus. Voimer, it says ba'es hahi echapes es Yushalayim b'neiros, and it says the word also neiros in connection with chipus. Voimer ner lokim Hashem, ner Hashem nishmas adam choifes. There it says chipus in regards to ner, and therefore we learn out ultimately that the chipus, that the searching of the chametz must be done ayidei the or haner. Asks the Gemara, "My va'oimer." Why does it say va'oimer after just stating? Over here, we conclude with Va'oimer ner Hashem nishmas adam choifes. Why was that necessary? Just conclude with the following, with the previous pasuk that we had brought. Answers the Gemara, V'chitema hai be'es hahi. If you only concluded with that pasuk of ba'es hahi echapes Yisraelim b'neiros and ended there, then I would think kula hu de k'amar Rachman. It's a special kula that the Torah is bringing. Lo bedikna lo b'Yushalayim ben nehura da avuka, the nafish nehura tuva, ela benehura de shraga de zuta nehura tfei. There it says that Hashem is not going to use a big torch to then search out the sins, only a little candle to see out the sins. The avon rabba mishtakach, because only then the big sins will be determined from the candle alone. The avon zuta lo mishtakach, but the small sins will not be determined. So therefore, you might think it's only therefore a kula, and thereby it wouldn't be sufficient to use a ner to search out the chametz. On that, the Gemara brings Toshma ner Hashem nishmas adam, bringing the last pasuk that ner Hashem nishmas adam. That's going to be used for probing, as the pasuk says, ner Hashem nishmas adam choifes kol chadrei boten.